Hey guys, what's up? Crypto Mike here. I'm not a financial advisor and this is not financial advice, but we are talking about this play to earn game called Gods Unchained. Pretty amazing stuff here. I've been struggling. They had the core deck refresh and reset, I think it's called. And so all my decks, like I said, I told you in the last video, they all just broke basically. All my deck ideas, they broke. I was kind of working on sort of on the fringes of trying to get something that will do we'll climb the ladder basically and be competitive at a decent level. Maybe not mythic, but maybe a diamond and maybe nipping into mythic. You know what I'm saying? So kind of in that range. And literally everything broke. All the new cards, all the new metas just destroyed everything I was working on. And I was struggling. I was not having any fun, to be perfectly honest. And I just kept getting my ass kicked over and over and over again. And if you look at my stats, it's ugly. It's an ugly thing, right? But eventually I had a breakthrough, and I wanted to share that with you guys. In that, I went back to the beginning. I was like, okay, look, let's just strip all the new cards out. All right, just stop trying to be too fancy with the little the imps that explode and cause whatever. Like there's just so much. There's so much new because, as you guys know, I play a death deck, and so there's just so much new stuff that you can kind of start incorporating in as good things. But everything you add, if you're removing something that was already working, you have a problem, right? And I was having that same problem. There's just not enough cards in one deck. There's only 30 cards in a deck when you play, and so you can only have two of each, one of the legendaries, etc., so on. So it's not. Anyway, let me just cut to the chase. And I had a breakthrough here. I'll pull this full screen so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Now, I actually ended up playing this. You can see here what I was doing. So I basically took the if you can't beat them, join them angle, and I was doing the Frenzied Aggro War, and I was like, forget it. I'm just going to play that to finish out my 25 games because I was getting my ass kicked. It was just not fun. So I'm like, okay, fine. Frenzied Aggro War is like knucklehead. You throw down the things. You go for face. You buff the monsters. It's the easiest thing ever. If you have the cards, you win. If you don't, you lose. Right? So I did that for a little bit, 16 and 7, right? And so that's fine. But then I started going back to my bread and butter, which is the death deck. And as you can see here, 22 hours ago, I had just about thrown in the towel. 3 wins, 8 losses. I was just getting trounced by everything. It was crazy. And then finally, I'm like, okay, I'm going to just strip it all back, throw all the new cards out, and just go back to what worked and find out if some of the basics still sticks, even in the new metas, right? Wouldn't you know it? So I did this one deck, which you can see here, I went 6-0 on, and I'll show you what that deck is in just a second. And then after that, I went on a tear. I won 24 games, 24-4. So if you look at that, this one deck at 6-0, I actually just changed one card from this one to the next one, right? So I had a duplicate of End Times, and I added a Faithbreaker in there. So, literally I went on a tear. So granted, I did start low because I was getting my butt kicked for a very long time. But what ended up happening was that I went back to the beginning. I went back to exactly where it started. And let me show you what that looks like. So this is the deck I was using to get that 6-0, and this was down at the level of approximately, what would you say? Midnight Shadow or something, because I had been beaten down that hard. And so anyway, here you go. It's super simple. It's a cheap deck, right? But it's got the most basic of things. It's got all the things you need, right? It's got the Blight Bombs, right? It's got the 2 of the Void Banshees, the Voracious Fiends for the heals. You got the Wicked Phase, which are nice because they can give you a roar and take out like one of those porcupines from a nature deck. Even through all that armor, they're destroy 1 health will cut right through those porcupines, which is very nice. If they drop a porcupine and are looking to buff it and give it a front line, I can just destroy it before they even do that. So very, very nice having the Wicked Fae here. They do summon that Impling, which it's a nice bonus, but I'm not real interested in having a board full of Implings for a lot of reasons right now, because this is a zombie deck. Of course, we got the bread and butter, the Cursed Obelisks, and the Necroceptor, which is your unlimited zombies. Your Fickle Cambion, right, which I removed from the deck, and when I was tinkering, I was like, okay, so this actually got taken back. It used to be it would get +1/+1 anytime any god was damaged, okay? But so you could attack their god, hit face with your Cambion or any of your other zombies, and your Cambion would just grow bigger and bigger and out of control. All right. Well, what happened was they removed that, so it has to be your god taking damage for your Cambion to buff. All right. And so I was like, it's not good. So it kind of got nerfed. So I pulled it out. Okay. But I was like, okay, we're going back to the beginning here, so I dropped it back into the deck, and I was like, okay, so let's see if just a basic sort of, I like to call this bully death, right? It's just like you kind of overwhelm them and have big monsters if they take too long to kill you, and the zombies keep you in the game long enough to outlast the burst or the rush of a nature deck or a war deck, right? So anyway, we got, of course, Cursed Obelisks, the Fickle Cambions, Necroceptors, a couple Decaying Rhinos. Hard to beat these guys at 4 mana. It's a 5/6, and they just come down and thump at 4, and that's pretty hot. Nether Swarm Lords, of course. Basically, I've never removed these from the deck because if you've got a Nether deck, these things will take over games. If they ignore it for a turn or two, forget it. It's a wrap. So you got to leave the 2 Nether Swarm Lords in there. Ray of Disintegration you have to go along with the Blight Bombs to give you that. Basically, if they drop a Guild Enforcer, right? If they drop one of these guys, which I added back to my deck, by the way, and they would stop me. They would stop the whole zombie army because you can't kind of crack through it. So if you have 2 of these Ray of Disintegrations, it's just a true just explosion. It'll kill anything. It doesn't matter how much health it has. It doesn't matter how much armor it has. It's just destroy a creature, deal 2 damage to each god, which, by the way, will give you the frenzy effect and will also buff your Cambion, right? So that's pretty nice. It's a nice advantage. We've got okay, so Nether Swarm Lords, Ray of Disintegration. I had these 2 Vampiric Skulls, and I don't really use this card, but I was like, okay, you have to stretch it a little bit, meaning that if you pack everything back here, and let's say I added 2 more to like mana 5 or mana 4, right? It's probably okay, but if the game goes longer, you sort of want like a big boy to drop to sort of finish it, to make them scramble, right? To kind of make them uncomfortable when you drop it. So I was playing with this Vampiric Skull, and I thought this is fine. Roar summon a creature that costs 3 mana or less, and give it Soulless, which is fine. The 6/6 is good. The 3 mana or less, but if you look at the deck, right, the 3 mana or less, you got a Cambion, you've got the Wicked Phase, you've got the Voracious Fiend, you've got the Void Banshee, right? And which is the Void Banshee is the whole key to this deck here. I'm gonna take it back and show you in just a sec. That's why I skipped that one. But okay, so got the Vampiric Skull and then 2 Overseers of Vitality, which they buffed, right? I used to have them in my deck early on, but I added this as a they buffed it. It used to be 5/5, and now it's 6/6, which I think it needed, and it give -2 health to each enemy and +2 to your own. And so when these guys come down, if you get 2, I actually had a game where I got 2 of these guys down, and it was crazy. The game went super long, but then it looked like it was going to go to the bad guy, and then I dropped one of these, and my guys went nuts, and he cleared part of his board. Then the second one went down, and just it went off the rails. So pretty good stuff. Over to neutral real quick, and I'll show you what I changed. There's this one little tweak I made on the deck, but this is back to the basics. I'm calling this back to the basics of just bully death, right? No corpse explosion, none of that stuff, none of the shenanigans that I keep running into as problems for these newer metas. But so Vanguard Axewoman, of course, you got to have a couple of these just in case you need to drop one and clear something that is inconvenient for you at the time. So it's nice to have the Blitz. Wild Hog, of course, great 1 manas to just drop, and it takes them more than 1 turn to clear typically. They are confused, which I hate, but I think you have to have the nice trade-off, right? So what would you rather have, a 2/3 not confused or a 2/3 confused, like a 2/2 not confused or a 2/3? So I think it's interesting. You could argue probably adding some a 3/1 with burn in here, or a 1 mana or those little fire spreaders which do explode when they attack successfully. They do 1 damage to both god. There's a lot here, right? There's a lot to this, and then of course back to the Guild Enforcers. When I first started, this was sort of a win condition. Once I could get a Guild Enforcer down, I would win, and so they got nerfed. All right, it used to be 2 armor, and once they had 2 armor, is so difficult to crack if you don't have again some sort of disintegrate or something like this. So I was like, okay, let's just go back to the basics. Let's do like this, nothing fancy, no new cards, just again the Overseers got their buff, and the Void Banshee, which I'll talk about in just a sec. So that's all. That was it, and it got the 6/0. Okay, back to here. This is that deck you're looking at here that's 6/0. Okay, and I was like, okay, wait. So it doesn't go as deep as 6 mana all the time. All right, meaning that the Vampiric Skull, I end up not using. So I was like, okay, let's trim one of these out and drop something in the mana 5, so that we could have another win condition a little bit earlier. And of course, that comes in the case of this deck, which the only change I made was Vampiric Skull Skull and added took one of those out and added a Faithbreaker. All right. Now Faithbreaker is again pretty wild. If you've got a bunch of zombies on this, when any god takes damage, this creature gains +1/+1. And it used to be even beastier. It used to be a 4/4, 5-mana card. And so you could drop this, hit your god power, which is the frenzy, and it gets 2 automatically, +2/+2. So if it was started at 4, it got to 6 instantly, and then out of hand so fast. So they nerfed it. They took it down to 1/4, but I think it's still extremely viable, because if you have other things down, other zombies, maybe you have a front line of a guild enforcer, and this thing pops, they can't really take it down right away. And so if they don't have a nuke ready, this thing can get out of hand at mana 5. So we don't even have to wait to get to mana 6 for the Vampiric Skull or the Overseers or anything else. So I swapped that. I was like, okay, we need a win condition sooner, instead of waiting for these big boys to happen, just kind of staying alive with zombies. And guess what? It took off. It went nuts. So this deck right here, I'll have it linked down below, but if you look, I'm the creator of this deck. It's 85.7%, 28 matches, and you better believe it. Go back to the stats here, 24-4 with this deck. And again, I'm halfway up to Diamond, so I'm Solar Gold halfway through that, just screaming through at 24-4. And if you look at the last 30 games I've played, it's 30 wins and 4 losses. That's absurd, right? That's absolutely crazy. And so as part of that, part of all this, I think it's important to maybe not, like I'm not some genius here and figure something out. I decided, let's just peel back and start going back to what worked with this deck, right, with the actual death deck. And this was it. This was sort of where it happened, and kind of stretched the legs with the 6 or the 7 mana creatures in case the game goes long and you need one big boy to drop at the end to kind of finish things. But so I encourage you, and this of course may not be in all cases, but maybe trim back, start removing some of the new cards you think may be helping you, but they're maybe not, and sort of go back to what worked, and then be very careful about what you change and tinker with. That's just my advice for now, because like I said, I've been struggling. It's been 2 weeks plus, 3 weeks almost that this new core refresh has been out, and I've just been getting my ass handed to me. Nothing works. So I did. I went back to the basics, and the basics works. So I started kicking ass. I was having a hell of a time last night. I stayed up way too late playing this game. But point is that it's still out there. It can still be done, and don't worry about sucking, because again, this is going to be one of those situations where, as everybody gets those new cards, I said this before in the previous video, that we're going to start seeing some of these metas change. And I think they're still going to nerf some of this new stuff. And there are new cards coming out. We'll talk about that in some coming videos. So anyway, I know one's a little bit long, but I wanted to point out exactly what had been happening with me, why I'm not making these videos. Because number one, I'm just not having fun. This has not been fun. I've been getting my ass kicked over and over and over again, or coming close and losing. And so I was just like, no, come on. This is not fun. I'm not having fun. You're not having fun if I'm not having fun. And so I stopped doing videos for a minute to kind of get my sea legs under me. So here we are. It works. This is fine. And I'm going to keep on doing this and tinkering off of this deck idea, back to bully death, back to just kind of overpower them. Oh, and the one thing I wanted to point out, there's 2 things real quick, actually. So I know this is a little bit long, but this is the secret to this deck. The secret to this deck is the Void Banshee. All right, I said this in a previous video a long time ago, that it used to be that this Void Banshee itself, let's go full screen so you can see exactly what I'm talking about here. So the Void Banshee in particular used to be a 4/3 2 mana, okay, which is hot. That's super hot. If you can get that card down almost immediately, it's hard for people to catch up, right? Even a couple hogs have a hard time taking this sucker down, right? You need 2 hogs to take this thing down, and it will clear both hogs, right? So what ends up happening is, if you can get this Void Banshee in your starting hand with either an obelisk, a zombie obelisk, or of course the Necroceptor to back you up for the 4 damage, you're in good shape, because you've got the four healing coming, so it's almost like nothing, and you're ahead of the game. And many times what I'll find is they'll nuke this thing instantly, because they're basically nuking this card because it will take the game over early. And instead, what that allows me to do is take the game over later with, again, like the Faithbreaker, like I said, the Nether Swarm Lords, or again, the Guild Enforcers when they come down. They won't have those nukes because they've already used them on the Void Banshee. So if you drop the first Void Banshee on turn 1, use a pip drop that sucker down, they kind of panic and they blow their load to get rid of it. And then basically by then you're, back to standard play. Your zombies are out and they've used their nukes, right? So if you can get 2 Void Banshees early on, it's very, very difficult for them to kind of keep up after that. And if they don't, and they don't have the nuke to take him out, your Void Banshee just go 4 to face, 4 to face, 4 to face. That adds up super quick in a couple 3 turns. So they can't ignore it. They have to take it out. So it's one of those ones where it's good. It's the key to this entire deck. So the first thing is it used to obliterate a card from your actual deck when you drew it. So not only would it do 4 damage to your god, it would obliterate a card, the top card on your deck, which was too much for me. It was like, okay, it's a good card, but I'm not trying to like kill a guild enforcer by accident, because anyway, so there you go. The second thing about this deck, and I didn't know this, and the crazy part about this is this. With a zombie deck, I didn't realize that if you have a zombie, like a full board, and you have a zombie try to spawn, what happens is it will actually take favor from your opponent. So if a zombie tries to spawn and can't because you have a full board, it will remove 2 favor from your opponent, right? So fill that board up with zombies and just mercilessly keep pumping them, and you'll just sap all the favor from your opponent. And there's a reason for that, right? Clearly, the Necroceptor has a great ability to do that. If you kill a zombie, they're just killing zombies wholesale, right? Like killing them like crazy because you're spawning them like crazy. So they would be ahead of you in favor forever, right? Because you'd never be able to catch up and kill things as fast as they're killing your things. But then, on the other hand, right, this... not only the Necroceptor, but the Cursed Obelisk, if you have a full board and it's trying to pump zombies, it's removing favor from them. So fill the board up, pump those zombies, get the Void Banshee down as fast as possible, and you too can kick ass probably up to Diamond. This is going to go to Diamond or maybe higher, who knows. So hopefully, cross your fingers this sticks. But back to the basics. I will tinker around with this idea and not change too much. I may pull out that second Vampiric Skull and add another Faith Breaker lower when I get it. We'll see. But again, I'm not going to tinker with it too much other than some experimental ideas. But there you go. That's what I've been up to, just to let you guys know. This is a lot longer video than I usually do, but I wanted you to know exactly what was happening and what I was doing, and I finally did have that breakthrough. So there it is. You guys can see this is what I've been up to, and more videos on the way. Like I said, if you guys want me to do videos about particular things, I know we have some new cards coming, so I'll talk about that stuff. I know that we have, they're going to keep balancing this because a lot of these actual cards are the new cards are still some of them are overpowered a little bit, so there's still the balances are happening and all the rest of this stuff, but there you go. So thanks again for being patient while I got this stuff going and while I got this figured out, because it was frustrating, let me tell you what. So I'm back, and I'm having fun again, and hopefully if I'm having fun, you're having fun, and let's keep doing this. So thanks again for listening. Don't forget, please thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, notification bell, all that good stuff. If you have ideas of videos you want me to do, just leave them in the comment. I would appreciate that. Thanks again for listening. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you guys in the next video.